And we are in. What's up, everybody? Back at it again, hitting it live, this time on a different channel. I guess on my channel. That's kind of fun, kind of different because Ty, you are on vacation, my man. And I'm happy, though, at least you're in here. I missed you, dude. You
Hey,
know,
what's up, man? How you been?
dude, I have been good. I have been good. It's, I had to get my computer fixed. So I kind of missed you from last Friday, I think it was, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. So I mean, it feels like it's been a lot longer. You know what I'm saying? Boomer, what up, dude? But yeah, so it just feels like it's been way, way longer. So, but yeah, it's nice to finally jump in here and say what's up. We see a couple people already jumping in. We saw Boomer. I saw you this morning, Boom. Good to see you, man. Tony Jr. Yo, what's up, man? Bino, what's up, dude? And my endless supply of black teas, 100%, dude. I just ordered
it
some
is
more.
impressive.
Straight up, dude. Like I love black teas. I'm a black tea type of guy, you know. Um, there's this guy right here, Keaton. Keaton. Well. Ty, my favorite Auburn fan. Of
You already know.
course,
You
of
already know.
course. Yes, man. I all the way tied.
Notorious.
Yeah, Ty. Yeah, right. Oh man, Coach I, what's up, my man? Had a fun time, Coach I, this morning. As everybody rolls in here, we got after a little bit this morning on the breakfast tailgate over at Fanatic Sports. If you haven't checked it out, there's a link in my channel, but you can also go check out Fanatic Sports because they're doing some really good stuff. Him and Stat Guy Jeff, they're doing an awesome job laying stuff out right now and previews for this upcoming season. Got a lot to get after, man. It's going to be fun over there. So, absolutely love it. Good to see you in here, Coach I. And of course, we got our guy, Chris Williams. We're going to spend the first 45 minutes talking about Auburn's past weekend of recruiting. No, we actually are not because fall ball has started. Recruiting, man. Recruiting's old news now, man. Recruiting's old now, Chris. I get it. Hey, congratulations to Auburn, right? Like
Yeah.
in the end of the
It,
day,
in
you
all
know?
seriousness,
Yeah,
huge moves by Auburn.
yeah,
Great flip. Derek Smith, incredible player. Antonio Coleman, think really highly of him. I think they're both really big wins. That wasn't all
mhm,
you got. And yeah, listen, we'll keep it consistent. Huge weekend for Hugh Freeze, huge weekend for the Auburn Tigers, and an Auburn
yeah.
fan should be excited about that, no doubt about it.
100%. I mean, in the end of the day, like that's the way recruiting is. I do think we could actually hit on something right now. Kind of interesting that we just offered his brother, Derek Smith's brother.
Yeah,
So
at wide receiver, which is interesting because and
yeah,
I don't know, I've always said this, I'm no insider, but I was under the impression that they were really just trying to keep Derek Smith as a safety because they love what he brings to the table there, which I mean, that's easy to see why. You turn on the film, guys can play football through and through, right? Wherever you want. But I think they really liked him at safety.
yeah, yeah,
Interesting stuff though.
yeah. I mean, I thought that was I thought that was, I mean, this, but did you see the size of his brother? It's
Six
huge.
six. Yeah.
Freaking gigantic. So maybe, I do know, and real quick, Rob, what's going on Patriot Life? Rob, our boy, what's up, man? It's, you know what? It's been so nice to reconnect with Patriot Life. We had, we lost touch for a while. Now we get to join back in. I love that you're back in here, man. Smooth, what's going on? What's going on? But no, I mean, his brother he's big dude. You know what I'm saying? He, you look at him and it kind of makes me think as you go down the board. So in recruiting, right? Like you have your board for each position group, and as you're looking through, you're paying attention to saying, okay, who is in what spot. We're going to recruit these guys the hardest. If these guys kind of roll off and we're saying, all right, we're going a different direction, or they shut down their recruiting, now we move down our board. I wonder how close Eric was though on the board because he's a big body wide receiver. So if we don't get right, you don't get Smith Jr. and you don't get gosh, I'm already forgetting their names. The guy just went to LSU.
Derek Meadows, yeah,
Meadows, yeah.
great win by LSU as well.
So at that point, you start to move down the line, and was he already on your big board? You know what I'm saying? So which is probably likely. It just he just wasn't all the way up. You know what I mean? That's just, I know that's how it works in recruiting. So um, that that's probably the case. And I think it's an excellent move from a standpoint of just, if there's not like they're going to give up on Derek. You know what I'm
No,
saying?
they'll keep chipping away. Why would you? He's a great player.
Yeah, 100%. And you know what? For now, like as we sit there and we let them go through the process, we have like bigger things to focus on. I will say the 227 guys that committed, I thought was really interesting. Grabbing two guys in a 27 class already with Barack and
Yeah,
Jabarian, I think it is. I
I
got to
think
hold
so.
on.
Yeah,
I got to look at his
and
name real quick.
for anybody wondering why I haven't made
Jabarius.
content on it, two reasons. Two
Hmm.
reasons.
Yeah.
One, I'm on vacation, right? So we got birthday parties, we
Yep.
got family affairs. But two, I've always had this kind of thing where I'll make content about commits a year out, but like 2 years out, we're gonna have to do something special in terms of both of those guys whenever I do
Hmm.
go around to make videos about them. Maybe a video about how they could be a cornerstone for that class way
Yeah.
far away. But it's kind of just one of those things where if I was back at the studio, I probably would have made some videos. But big wins, right? 2027, you
Hmm.
got to hold on to them. But the one linebacker, I loved what he said. We're being like, I just wanted to find my home, end it, and now focus on developing in football. I was like, hey, that's cool, man.
Yeah, Brock. He's. I'm pretty sure he's going to be one of the top rated players in that class. He's huge.
He
For
seems
whoa, dude. For sophomore in high school, that's a big dude. I mean, he's 6'3", 220. He could run.
jeez.
He is that guy is going to be really good. And Jabarius is really good too. I really like how athletic Jabarius is. I mean, Jabarius moves really well for how young he is, and he's really long, lengthy. Again, you look at the players we're going after. You can see like the arm length. You watch Jabarius as he stands next to. There's a picture of him next to Jalen Milrow, and that kid's going to be because he's 215, I believe. So these guys they're big, and yeah, they just wanted to end it, man. They just wanted to kind of get it out of the way, get it done, and focus on their stuff. Joseph, what's going on, my man? Jordan Wright, we gotta say what's up to a few people in here. Boomer, would I make a citizen's arrest? No. I'm gonna tell you right now because I'm done with that life. That life is over for me. So no more of that. Thank you very much.
I do love that question, though.
Yeah, it is a good question. Would you make a citizen's arrest? Dude, there's a funny story I could tell, a funny ass law enforcement story that I've recently heard. Hilarious about a citizen helping out when someone was getting their ass handed to them. It was so funny, dude, because the guy was in a Captain America onesie. So that's freaking hilarious. I'm going to be honest with you. Any dude who's out there saving the world in Captain America onesie, wow, I love it. Pretty funny. Five Adam, what's up, man? Yeah, I see. I do like Eric a lot. I think dude, he's big. He's big, and he does catch it with his hands. I mean, him and his brother, dude, phenomenal athletes. Again, I think it's part of the big board. I don't think a lot of people realize that, and it's hard too when you have man, when you're at Alabama and you can just grab these stud players all over the nation, and there's constant hype around some of these other guys. We forget that there are players out there that are very, very good. Yes, maybe they have to develop a little more, or maybe they just don't camp as much, right? Maybe they're overlooked for whatever reason, but it's not like the staff's like overlooking guys. They're not just going to offer anybody either, because everyone was saying, well, that's a move to get his brother back. No, they're not just going to offer him. They would have done it already. You know what I'm saying? Like they would have offered him way earlier if that was the case. I think he literally where he fell in line in the big board. That's all it was, man. So, Glenn, what's going on? What's going on? G to G, big smash. What up, dude? How you doing, man? Good to see you. Yeah, hit the like button while you're in here. Keith, how you doing? Shelby, Miss Shelby, First Lady, what's up? See y'all September 28th. Yeah, big one there. That's going to be fun to watch. And my dog, Patriot Life, man, coming in with the super chat. Dude, we appreciate you, man. Just absolutely appreciate you. And it is a great day. Great day to be a Tide fan. It's a great day to be a football fan because football, truthfully, the season has started, people. Like this is the start of the season. Ty, I don't know how much you've had a chance. You're on vacation. How much have you had a chance to kind of dig in and see what's going on? Alabama, day one, day two, fall ball. Anything really? Nothing. Whole
None.
lot.
I mean, I can tell you what I'm looking forward to, what I hope to see.
Yeah.
But in terms of what has happened, I've seen some Twitter clips here and there from when I get on Twitter, but
Mm.
I helped my brother assemble a smoker last night.
Ooh, I love it.
And he's a contractor, so we went out to like several job sites during the day, moving wood, moving stuff around. Then swam in, because in Virginia, man, they got these rivers out here
Yeah,
that are darn near lakes, right? I
yeah,
mean, they're huge.
they're
So we
pretty.
went swimming in the Potomac.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, cool, man.
then assembled a smoker, got some
Dude,
meat smoked up, and so that was yesterday, and today I went over to my sister's, hung out with the nieces and nephews, and they
dude.
came over here, and then we went to Williamsburg. So I've been all over the place. I haven't had time to really see what's been going on, but I can tell you what I would like to hear about, or what I would like to see, what I'm excited to see, what I'm hesitant on. I can give you that rundown, but it's only going to be worth as much as my opinion is worth. So take
Which
that.
is, hey, I love your opinion, Ty. I love your opinion. And you know what? The fact that you just put together a smoker, man. This is why I love you, dude. This is why I love jumping on with you. And Miss Janet, good to see you. Good to see you. Kareem, what up, my buddy? What up, my buddy? Love it. So yeah, let me hear what you want to see. And then I can give you a breakdown of what I have observed and heard. And then we can go from there. So let Ty take it away, my friend. Tell me what you would like to see in fall ball.
Yeah, quick shout out to Auntie Janet in the chat. Janet, nice to see you. Five Adams, Kareem, Patriot Life, Boomer over here saying Ty
Mhm.
has a Captain America onesie made out of chupacabra hide. This is true. This is
Dude,
true.
that's dope.
And Shelby saying about the Georgia matchup, she's 100% right.
Yep.
I think that that's one of the best matchups in all of college football from a brand capacity, from a stylistic matchup
Yeah.
capacity. I love that Alabama gets it early, and I'm sure Georgia feels the same way, right? With all
Mhm.
this new at Alabama, I'm sure they're like, hey, love that I get Bama early whenever they're still in the learning phase, because Kalen DeBoer's offense can be a little tricky, right? So it's like, love everything about that game. Going to be a great one. And Fanatic, Pro Football Focus does have snap counts on their college. You just have to go per player. I don't know if there's a way to view it in totality, so
Hmm.
that can be a little bit of a headache. But they do have it. They do have it, and so that's good to see. I meant to message you that yesterday, but like I told you, I have terrible signal here most of the time, unless I'm at my mom's. Now, I apologize for the long-winded intro. What I'm most excited for, what I'm hoping to see, is that this defensive front becomes the defensive front I want them to be.
Hmm.
Jake, you commented on my channel the other day, and you and I were talking
Yeah.
to Jeff. Shout out Jeff Horn.
Jeff
Always gives
Horn.
great comments on the
I
channel.
love
And
it.
he was saying, hey, I'm kind of worried about defensive line recruiting in this class.
Hmm.
And though I'm really not, I get it.
Hmm.
I do understand that sentiment, and I bet it's even increased after the Coleman flip. So I do understand that, Jeff. If you tune in, I do. I don't think you're misplaced. What I will say is, I think this defensive front for Alabama has the capacity to be very good, and I think that the scheme they're moving towards, though there's a lot that's similar, the
Hmm.
one difference that I think we're going to see from, say, the Golding days, and I just say that because we have a larger sample size of Pete Golding than we did with the previous defensive coordinator. I think your defensive front is going to get much more active. I think they're going to be real disruptive, and I hope so. You have a young secondary. Now, I think Damani Jackson has got unreal upside, but even at USC, you saw he's still green, right?
Yeah.
Like he's still green. He's still developing. He's had several injuries, and that's
Yep.
kept him sidelined.
Hmm.
So the reason why I'm so excited about this defensive front is because if they can be as disruptive as I believe they could be,
Hmm.
that's going to help the back end, right?
Oh
Like
yeah,
that will
dude.
allow these cornerbacks. And Jake, I'd love to hear you talk about this. You would know
Ooh.
exponentially better than I what that can do for this secondary. And that's naturally the biggest question for Alabama right now is the secondary. So the
Oh,
defensive line to me, man, is probably what I am most excited about because I mean, if I may just break this down real quick, you have
do it.
Tim Smith, James
Hmm.
Smith, you have got Tim Keenan, who really came on strong. at the end of the last year, and especially as the season came on, Tim Keenan was really starting to play some good football. They moved Keon Keeley, and I think whenever you look at Keeley, even out of high school, that was always something that I thought could happen, right? Like he was kind of a tweener, where it's like you have the frame where if
Yeah.
you get any bigger, you can be moved and you're going to be effective. So I love that. You have Jeremiah Beeman, you have Edric Hill, you have Jordan Renaud, you get LT Overton, you get who else is there in there? Hunter Osborne, right? Like you have
Mhm.
all of these names in this defensive line group. And that's not even speaking about the outside guys. Jamarian Latham is another one. So I think that this defensive front is going to be really disruptive. I hope
Yeah.
at least. I
Yeah.
hope.
Dude. I mean, you hit the nail on the head with defensive line from like an excitement standpoint. I mean, we went, there was a comment like right on the video that you did. And that was like, hey, I'm concerned about the recruiting and I'm also concerned about the development. Well, the recruiting aspect is this, and we talked about it. And Goof, good to see you. Southern Red, love it, love it, love it. Five Adam, I threw out the channel in there. You asked me what my channel is. It's just Set the Tone College Football. That's all you got to go look for. Type that in. Eric D, what's up, man? So it's interesting, right? And I saw some of the questions in here, like Coach I see your question. I started them. We're going to come back and hit those because they're good questions. Same with you, Keith. So I'll tell you, interesting, right? Is with the D line, everyone's like, well, where's the recruiting with D line? Why aren't we nailing down these big like names D linemen? Well, honestly, you have to look. They are probably really picky this year regarding what they were willing to take D line wise. Now, 2 to 3 was probably that number that they want, and they're still going to go after 3 at the max, 2 right there at the min. And Bishop, what's up, my man? Tony, what's going on? Roll Tide, you. But I'll tell you, the reason is because you look at the depth, and to be honest with you, when you go back and look at like that depth chart, and you do look at how many people are seniors or what the youth looks like on there, there's a lot of youth, right? Like there's a ton of youth. So you're that competition wise for some kids, they want to see the field early in the recruiting aspect. It's okay. Here's the thing. That's okay. I get it. But the development part is huge too, right? That's a big deal too. And you do look, yeah, with Stephen M, he did reclassify. So that's cool, and he's going to have like a leg up in a way because he will get started. He'll go do his class, knock it out. And it wasn't because he wasn't like he messed something up. It wasn't on him. It was literally just coming from, if I'm correct with Steve, it's coming from another outside of the US, right?
Canada.
Yeah. In boom, right?
Mbuma?
Yeah.
Mbuma?
Yeah.
I'm so sorry
Yeah.
if I said
Um,
that incorrect. Genuinely
yeah.
apologize, but I think it's Mbumia.
Yeah. In Bumea.
But did you see the picture of him next to
Oh,
Roach?
he's jacked. And you know what the thing is he's really raw.
Jeez.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, everyone just calls him Steve M, but Mbumea or whatever, Mbuma. But I tell you, that guy,
I think you have it 100% down.
yeah,
Mbumea. Yeah,
yeah.
that sounds right.
He with him, he's super raw, very quick learner because he's also newer to the sport in general, right? Like nowadays, you're talking about kids who playing since like elementary school, middle school. This guy's like really fresh, really new to the sport. I'm going to tell you this. He'll do his class, he'll get his workouts in, he'll get some play time, but as soon as that's over, right, when he's done just basically getting reps, which is such a positive thing, he's gonna just transfer right back in. So it's gonna be like he's there for semester and then boom, he's gone. Like he's right back on the team, right? But he'll classify as a 25 class. So you got those. You have London Simmons, right? I think is going to be a stud. Mars, what's going on? Lance, Poetic, and Bob, how you guys doing? But London Simmons is going to be a stud. So, but let's just take Steve out of the picture, right? Because in a way, Steve will have lost 1 year technically of eligibility, if I'm correct, because he'll play for a season at junior college. So you only have London right now. Okay, here's where I'm at with this when they're talking about losing a D lineman. Antonio Coleman, like I think he can be really good. I said this the other night, and it's not me dogging on him. It's just kind of me being honest. He needs to grow up and like kind of mature a little, right? And yeah, he's young. Like okay, but the flip flop thing, somebody needs to be in his corner saying, "Hey, man, like this does not look good on you. Like it's not a good thing. It shows a lot of indecisiveness. Like you can't make your mind up, and when that comes on the football field and you can't make your mind up, then you become a liability. Like so, let's like cool it down just a minute. Hopefully, Auburn for him is this final destination, and he's good, right? And he can focus on just playing football instead of where he wants to be. But I'll say this next thing is, I think for a lot of guys, you will start to like. I don't think this Justice Terry thing is done, right? Like there's a lot of guys out there who, you
I
know,
swear, I hope that they don't get the 5-star trio of the edge
that'd be
and then the
wild.
two interior that is Georgia, because if they do,
Hmm.
that might not be a problem next year,
Yeah,
but the year after, I
yeah.
mean, that's I just we know what Kirby does when he
Hmm.
has talent like that. So I certainly hope Bama makes a play.
Yeah.
Two reasons: for Bama's sake, and that I don't want him being added in to that trio at Georgia, because that's a problem Bama will have to face. Right?
Yeah.
It's not just like it goes away, and it's one thing if he goes to Oregon,
Hmm.
right? Because then it's like, okay, out of sight, out of mind. We'll see you
Yeah.
in the playoffs. But
Yep.
you're here. You're in the
100.
backyard. Like that's tough.
It is, and that's
Don't
going to
say
be
that,
a.
Fanatic.
I know, Coach. We were talking about that today behind the scenes a little bit, but it's going to be interesting to see kind of what goes on regarding some of the recruiting. Now, this season, though, here's the thing: what if the question can be asked? What if we end up in a class where we do technically only end up with a guy like we only end up with London Simmons, or maybe one other guy, maybe
We still have Steve M, right? So that gives us
technically,
a
yep,
little bit of
two.
flexibility there.
But at the
Um,
same time, I wouldn't be worried.
yeah,
That's the thing about it, guys, is like the thing you run into stuff like this all the time. I would not be worried because one thing we have come to find is like this is this coaching staff's very first class. What will happen is going forward with the next classes, they're going to gain momentum. Now they've established relationships. You will see it. There's a good chance that the next 2 to 3 classes could be even better than what you see with a 25 class, their very first class, which is says a lot considering how highly ranked the class is and how great the players are. So I that there's that chance there. Not worried about that, right? But then like, we tune into fall ball of tie of what you said, the excitement around this D line and what needs to happen, right? The excitement's there, but also the extreme like focus. We're like locked in because we're going, okay, D line. This if any time we need a D line to really come out and just blow it up, right? Like be that group of guys, it's going to be this season because of the youth we have in the backfield, right, at cornerback, and that's kind of been talked about. But there's also that factor of saying, I really think this is that season where you see these guys return back to the dominance, right, that D line has had over the years, and I think that falls in where I do believe in Roach as a coach. I think he finally has these pieces into place, right? Where he gets to, these are his guys. He gets to really work them, push them. He's recruited these guys. He's coached these guys. And I think this system, to be honest with you, I think this system works really well for this group, right? Ty, like you look at like it's you have one gap assignment, right? Your nose tackle needs to be an absolute beast, which I do believe we have. Um, you look at your D tackle, your 3 technique has to be a stud and be able to move and get after the quarterback. Same thing with your bandit. And then your wolf brings that extra addition, which you can play with right there, right? You can play up and down with that wolf, right? And so it's going to be a lot of fun because you see the depth there. And if there's one position I would say we are deepest at, it is our D line, and it is our wolf position, that outside hybrid edge linebacker. So I'm telling you, man, it's exciting to see with this D line and what they can produce out of this sort of defense. Tyre, you're there, right? Oh, sorry, just make sure you weren't frozen. Frozen. But yeah, no, and
No, it's a little bit different than my
I
studio. So if
know,
you
I
see me
know.
like, because the camera is so much closer,
Yeah,
this is me
freaks you out a little
reading
bit.
chat right here.
Ty's like, what the hell's wrong with you guys? Get out of my face. I know it's kind of strange, man.
Oh,
But
fanatic. I know, man. He says Ty's right. Imagine a soft Gibson,
God.
Griffin, and Terry in front of. Yeah, that's exactly what I don't want, right?
Mhm.
And yeah, they're all so talented. Maybe they do play their freshman year. I'm certainly not, dismissing that possibility.
Yeah.
But I'm worried about what happens year 2, year 3 with those guys. I
You,
mean, geez Louise,
you
that's
it's funny because then did you see the comment 5 Adam brings up you have the best O-line class in 2025? I
true.
agree.
This is true.
So now if that were the case, would I feel like intimidated? No, because right, like at this point, you're looking at then 2 really good classes, which we've continued to see through the SEC history of Georgia's D line facing Alabama's offensive line, right? Now, both of them have been somewhat different these past few years, right? Like it's been kind of it's been a little down. You know what I'm saying? Like the offensive line hasn't quite been what everyone's wanted it to be over at Alabama. Defensive line hasn't quite been what everyone expects it to be over at Georgia. And there's been some things here and there. So yeah, are we recreating the superpowers again to go after each other and have the battle of the beasts of the Hulk versus Thanos? Yeah, hell yeah, we are. And I think that's kind of fun. You know what I'm saying? Like, even if that were to be the case, we'll see what happens. The recruiting season is long, so long. That's the one thing a lot of people, it's crazy when you get to fall ball, all the recruiting talk, like it almost becomes like it's there, but it just drops out. Like it almost becomes irrelevant to a sense because you're like, okay, what's the season going to hand us now? Because we're in season. Like you got what, 30 days until the first game, at Alabama. Like, I mean, we are in season, people. Like, this is exciting stuff. And this is where I think I get really pumped. You know what I'm saying? Is there anywhere else, Ty, you would say that you would expect to see, great strides through fall ball with any other position group? There's excitement around D line, of course, but what's that position group that you do expect to see really big strides in?
I would think naturally defensive back.
Mhm.
It's a new group gelling together. 5 Adam says wide receiver. Completely agree with that as
Mhm.
well. I'm
Yeah.
just to put it in perspective. I'm staying defense before I move over
Yeah.
offense. Right?
I
Like
got you. Got you.
I'm not smart enough to like jump all over the place and keep track of everything. So I'm very linear, right? And like, okay, once we're done with what I'm excited
Yeah.
about defensively, but mine would probably be defensive back. I don't worry about linebacker at
Mhm.
all.
Mhm.
Between Campbell, between Lawson, between Alexander, between Justin Jefferson, I think Justin Okoronkwo is going to
Oh, yeah.
be real hard to keep off the field. I think he is going to be a demon on special teams. I mean, guys, we saw that rep of Kendrick Law in the spring game going around the side. And who's the one who caught him? A
Mm.
guy who might be the fastest person on the team, Justin Okoronkwo, caught
Man, dude, he's
Kendrick Law.
fast.
That guy is, and lest we forget, Jake,
Yeah.
A-Day was his first game
Yeah.
outside the scrimmages, his first game in America.
Yeah.
This kid is just getting acclimated. So Justin Nkwonkwo, I'm not worried about the linebacker unit as a whole because it's
Uh,
headed by 2 guys who I think are incredible. But I think he's going to make a lot of gains. I think he's going to really progress. We talked about the defensive front. I'm really excited to also hear about Yanze Pierre,
yep.
about the guys rushing the edge. I say
Mhm.
Yanze Pierre just as Keanu Cott, Quindarius Robinson, the whole lot. Noah Carter, I think he's going to be real tough to keep off the field. Um, yeah, but the secondary in terms of making strides,
Hmm.
because if the secondary can make enough strides, then it will be a unit that can really take care of itself,
Oh yeah.
right? Like, but it's a new unit. It's a new unit, and yeah, that's probably the other area where I'm like really interested in seeing how they continue to progress.
Nah, I like that, man. That's a really good take, right? Because I do think out of all of our areas, when we stick to the defensive side of the ball, that group of defensive backs, right? And we can quickly jump into that subject because I do know there's a couple of questions. Guys, I know we also have like multiple channels streaming. So if we don't see your question right away, just ask it again and we'll get to it.
Yeah, by all means, please.
Yeah, please. So the first one I know, first question was from Fanatic Sports. Coach I, thoughts on Bama DBs going in the fall. So this was that question, and this is what I wanted to get to. So here's my thing with the DBs. Very interesting. Number one, it all relates. I released a video that I did with Coach Sean and Coach Carl just the other day. A video was just released earlier this evening. If you haven't checked it out, it talks about the offensive line. Whoa, why do I bring up the offensive line regarding defensive backs? Like, why is that important? Right. So here's the thing, right? Is in practice when we're talking about these defensive backs and what they're going to face. Number one, you're going to face a well-seasoned quarterback, right? Multiple quarterbacks who look really, really good based on the film that we have seen be put out already from day one and day two. They look comfortable to throw it. Their motion looks good. I mean, they're putting the ball out there, right? But the next part of that is in practice, even in practice, just the same as a game. The defensive line are trying to put defensive line linebackers. The defense is trying to put pressure on the quarterback when they do their scrimmage, right? Whether it's scrimmage or 7-on-7s or situational, right? Competition. During that time, what you are having to do as a defensive back when you are facing an offensive line that I believe will be competing for a Joe Moore award, right? I believe that they could win it. What you're doing is you are offensive line now is allowing a lot of time for that quarterback to sit back there and get comfortable, right? Granted, there are things in place within practice where the quarterback still has to get the ball out in a certain amount of time, but that all other times they're going to let it just kind of run free just a bit. I'll tell you this: as a defensive back, there's nothing better than going up against in practice at that in those situational schemes and in time frames, time zones, because practice is broken into time, right? Time slots. During those special time slots where you got to really cover the hell out of your guys. And if there's one time too where you are pushing yourself because everybody's watching you, it's not just a game, right? But your coach, you want to talk about when you're going into film later in the afternoon after practice and what that's like and you mess up, I can tell you, I blew a couple coverages. I'm going to be honest. There's one point where I loafed my ass off at one point, and I got called out in film. Never did it again. Never did it again. And nobody wants to get called out because it's embarrassing. It sucks, right? And you don't. That's not the right way to go about it. But it's also this: is you get to go out there, and KD is over there with this dynamic offense that him and Sheridan are used to running. Okay, they are over there. You think they're just going to go light on the defense? No, the defense has to step up and meet the standard. So these DBs get that opportunity to really get repetition after repetition and like good reps in practice. They're facing speed. You talk about some of the videos. You want to talk about like Kendrick Law and what he looks like right now. Kobe Prentice out there making freaking plays. I mean, you see Ryan Williams out there making plays. I mean, everybody is out there balling. It's fun to watch. This wide receiver group is going to be studly. They're going to be a good group. I can tell already. But for the DBs, I think it's really special. With that being said, did you get a chance, Ty, to hear anything that Kane Womack said today in his interview after practice?
Yeah, yeah. First off, shout out Kareem for the $5 and my TO's voice. Get your popcorn ready, guys. Love it.
Mm,
I 100% agree. Right, 100% agree. I did hear him say something to the effect of Jalen Mbakwe
mm,
has really
Mm-hmm.
progressed from
Yeah.
where he was in spring to fall. And Jake, for those of you that have listened to you and I, whenever
Mm-hmm.
we've talked about this is not something that should surprise you.
Yeah.
Let me jog your memory. And we didn't say it outright, but what we did contend, there were two players who we were like, hey, Alabama had a great recruiting class, but there are two guys that I think are going to really excel. We said Noah Carter and we said Jalen Mbakwe. Now, the
Mm-hmm.
reason why we picked out those two guys is because both of those guys
Yeah.
played everything on the
Mm-hmm.
football field.
Athletes.
And now, for the first time in a long time, they're getting to focus singularly on
Yep.
one thing.
Mm-hmm.
So while everybody is going to progress, you have to imagine that now for a Jalen Mbakwe, since we're on the cornerback position, let's single out on him. But everything I'm about to say, you can carry over to Noah Carter.
Yep.
Everything I'm about to say, you can carry over there. But this is a guy who not only played some wide receiver, who played, geez, I mean, what didn't he play? I think that'd be the shorter list.
Yeah, I know.
Maybe he didn't punt, which he probably did. Maybe he,
Yeah,
you
actually,
know
I
what I
think I
mean?
did
Like,
see him kick at one
I
point.
think I did. That's why as soon as I said it, I was like, I think he did actually.
Yeah.
Okay, he wasn't the offensive coordinator.
Uh-huh.
Outside of that, Mbakwe did it all.
Yeah.
And now he gets to spend all of his time at cornerback. Well,
Mm-hmm.
he understands how to play wide receiver, even though it's at a high school level. I grant you that. I completely grant you that. It's not like he has zero understanding of what a wide receiver wants to do or is looking to do to try and beat a defensive back, right? And
Yep.
especially given the fact that he had to go up against a team such as Maryland with
Mm-hmm.
Ryan Williams. And we've talked about how advanced Ryan Williams is at being like, okay, I need to get the defensive backs head, shoulders, and hips turned this way. And the second I get them turned to the left, I'm shooting back right. And he's not going to be able to react as quick as me. Like really intricate stuff for a sophomore and junior in high school. I mean, that's senior, freshman, sophomore level in college stuff. I bring all that to your attention to say that it makes complete sense to me
Oh
that
yeah.
after Mbakwe got there during the spring,
Mm-hmm.
he got to really sit there and learn. Okay, this is what they expect of me. This is what I need to do to be successful. He took that into summer, and then I hear the soundbite today of Womack saying, "Hey, Mbakwe has come a long way since spring." It doesn't surprise me in the slightest, Jake, because you and I said this would happen for your guys like an Mbakwe,
Yeah.
like a Noah Carter, because now they're singularly focused.
Yeah.
Outside of that, I didn't hear a whole lot. I believe I saw some tweets saying Xavier Brown doing real good.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't
Yep.
surprise me in the slightest.
100%.
Xavier Brown, he's so college ready in terms of his technicality, right? I mean, really, really advanced stuff there. Zay Mincy, Jake, you know, I've definitely not kept it a secret from you. I am so excited for Zay Mincy and what he brings to the table.
Oh yeah.
And then you have Damani Jackson. So I didn't hear a whole lot. The only soundbite I heard was about Mbakwe. And when I heard it, I was like, Jake and I talked about this. Coach Sean, Jake and I talked about this.
Yep.
Jance, Jake, Coach Sean and I talked about this. Coach Smook, Jake, Sean, Jance and I talked about this
Yeah.
so many times.
Oh yeah. It's crazy, man. Like it's so, you look at, sorry, I'm just adjusting this so it's all clear, but you look at like those guys and Bakwe was brought up. They also, it was funny because as far as like how far he's come since spring, that's an interesting fact. Like a lot of guys, people don't realize that in between time, not everybody's going home for the summer. Not everybody's going and just hanging out, and, going on the boat or going to the lake or whatever they're doing. When you get the opportunity to play Division 1, Power 4 football, you better take it serious. And I'll tell you, at Alabama, it's more than serious, right? It's life. It's probably better be part of your bloodstream. You know what I mean? So one thing we can count on though is that these dudes, for sure, have done a good job utilizing the time in the off season. Okay, they have done a great job of putting in work in the off season, not just from a training standpoint physically, right? Because a lot of people think it's just physical. They've done a great job mentally, and even Coach Saban would say the same thing. The mental game is almost more important than all the other things. That's great, like during the off season where you're lifting weights and you're getting stronger and faster, making sure your body's healthy. But when it comes down to mental, right? The mental things, the mental aspect of the game, that is almost more important than all that physical and aspect and that talent aspect. Yes, you need to be talented, but most guys are going to be talented at that level. So who separates themselves on the mental side of things? Meaning they're disciplined enough to do the things that you know you need to do. Maybe you don't want to do them, but you know you need to, right? And or you're disciplined enough from the standpoint that you are avoiding and making sure you're making like the right decisions when you don't necessarily want to be in a situation or make a decision that's going to ruin things, right? So a lot of these dudes are doing a really good job of mentally locking in. That goes in the show the buy-in towards the culture, the buy-in towards what this coaching staff, this administrative staff, what they've done as far as continuing to build on what Saban had created, right? And truthfully, what's been created through history. You can go back a long, long ways and see some really great coaches through history, but Nick Saban really solidified that, right? Really solidified that culture of discipline, the standard, right? And making sure that that was going to be carried on after he was done. Well, I'll tell you what, this coaching staff's doing an amazing job at that. And we look at these defensive backs, I'll tell you, Mbakwe has come a long way. They talked about, or Womack talked about that in the post interview. He said, "Man, he's made great strides. He's really locking in. He's picking it up quickly." The two that sounds like really impress him right now is going to be Damani Jackson and obviously Xavier Brown, right? And then Day Day, who is I'm pretty sure Deshaun Jones, right? And so those guys are all like there and kind of what we've said in the mix. Now, one thing Womack did say about this defensive back group, especially the youth there, with like talking about Zay Mincy, right? Talking about Xavier Brown, talking about Mbakwe. One of the big things is he says, it's going to be fun to watch them this season because they are going to continue to make big strides in their game. He goes, that is going to, basically just be ready because this group we're going to see good things from, right? Without having to come out and say it, this group we're going to see good things from. So it's exciting. It's cool from the defensive back standpoint. I think a lot of people are so worried. He broke down a little bit too, and I wish I would have done this prior, right? But he broke down this vision coverage, and everyone's like, "Well, the vision coverage, it's basically a zone drop read. It is a zone drop read, 100%. But what happens within that zone is you are then identifying the route coming into your zone and you're matching it, right? That's what coverage is in the end. It's just not called match because you're not matching it right from the line. You're sitting, um, you see a lot of safeties use a catch technique, and that catch technique is used basically when we are not giving up this space here. So when they get to us, right, when the wide receiver gets to us, depending on what your assignment is and your coverage rule is at that point, we are then either going to use a catch technique, meaning we are not giving up space, we are locking on those hips, we're catching and we're rolling with them, right? That you'll see that a lot in vision coverage because what they're going to do is lock down space. Womack did a really good job today of talking about, because so many people are like, well, what about this coverage? Can you explain a little more on vision coverage? He's like, y'all don't have to worry. I know everyone's used to pattern match. The match is within the zone now. Okay. It doesn't turn into a necessarily a man based on what the route decision is by the wide receiver. It turns into a match when they enter our zone. Right. And a lot of people are like, well, wait a minute, isn't that the same thing? To an extent, yes. The rules are different though, right? You're closing the gap, as Womack says, you're closing a gap of space. Okay. So within closing that gap, you now can play off that, right? The route that is being ran because you're taking away where the quarterback wants to put the ball. You can play off, watch the quarterback, and the space that wide receiver has to work in. Therefore, you're still playing a match, but yet you're guarding space and the man at the same time. right? And you can use that athleticism to get after it and catch that, make those takeaways. That's what it is. Do not call them turnovers. They are takeaways, people. You got to get used to that one too. So I'm excited for these DBs. I'm excited for what they are going to learn, their growth. I want to see, again, keep watching who grows the fastest, right, in the defensive end. And man, I'll tell you, it's going to be a fun season, man. Fun season to watch these guys. And you can already tell through fall ball with seeing who's out there and who's explosive and who's having a great time, right? I think another thing that we look at, what Womack brought up, Ty, today, was the fact that he feels really good about the depth, again, at that Wolf position. He brought up the certain names. You know, Keanu Coat keeps coming right off of his tongue. You know what I'm saying? And Q Rob. So I think we are probably going to see a lot of those guys in the rotation. Um, you know, I think Rusaw, he mentioned Rusaw. And then one guy he said, for a young guy who's coming along quickly was Jan Pierre. And you had brought him up, Ty. So he said he's coming along quickly, right? Maybe not necessarily right where everyone else is at, but he's getting there. He's getting there. So that's exciting. And then our linebackers, I think if there's one area where he feels very, very confident in right now, is that linebacking group is about to, man, I tell you what, you want to talk about a duo of danger. Like, dang, between Lawson and Campbell back there and what they're going to be able to do, especially knowing how this defense works, man. Like, did you get a chance, like, right, when you watch the A-Day, you saw obviously what Jefferson was doing, but one thing I think, if you haven't kind of heard, Ty, I know you only caught bits and pieces of it, but it sounds like Jefferson also is right there as far as doing a great job coming out of spring, going into fall ball, right? Like, his understanding of this defense.
Yeah, and I mean, watching him play,
Mm-hmm.
it was almost like one of those things where you had a problem. What I mean when I say you had a problem, there are good problems and there are bad problems. Problems nonetheless. Obviously, good problems are much better to have than bad problems, right? Like, you look at, say, a team like Georgia, and even now, but Georgia, when they had their national championship back, that defensive front, it was a problem trying to figure out how are we going to get more guys in the rotation and involved because we have so much depth here.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good problem to have. For
Yeah.
Alabama, the good problem on that inside linebacker room is that you have Jahad Campbell, you have Lawson, and they're the two guys. But then you look at Justin Jefferson, and Jake, I swear to you, if Alabama goes dime, I'm like, why are you not going to throw him out there? Because he moves like a defensive back,
Mm-hmm.
but he hits like a linebacker. The guy, that's why if you're in any of these dime packages, right? And I know
Yeah.
that Alabama's going to be in a nickel a lot of the time, but
Mm-hmm.
if you get in a game, you're up by 14, you know that the other team is going to pass a lot. I feel real comfortable with him in a dime package, right? Where you have more of these defensive backs on the field. You throw him in the equation, you know what I mean? Like, if let's say you want to give one of those guys a break,
Yep.
you want to give Lawson a break, you want to give you go into dime, you throw Justin Jefferson out there at the linebacker position in that dime package. I mean, geez, he's going to be able to cover pretty well, right?
Yeah.
Like, he's going to be able to cover some tight ends, and he's going to be able to step up and help stop that run. I love having that depth, though. And I'm going to
Yep.
say it again. Justin Okoronkwo is not a guy who I would exactly think would be pushing this year for playing time, but I do believe we'll see him on special teams. I do feel very strongly about this. And for Bama fans, you'll know we can talk about some of the just most incredible linebackers of the Saban era.
Mm-hmm.
You think back to a Reuben Foster, you think
Yeah.
back to a Mac Wilson. Where did they cut their teeth? Special teams.
Mm-hmm.
So I imagine Justin Jefferson Justin Ornquanko, they're going to be special teams demons, and I think Justin Jefferson's going to push for some playing time, which I absolutely love. Very talented guy.
Yeah, man. I think so too. I think well, and if it goes back to the way they've ran it in the past, they run rotation like packages, right? So there will be different packages where they run, and just because you don't get burnt out, especially with today's offenses, man. Yeah, Rashad Evans was brought up a lot too. Um, they as far as these packages and what these offenses are running from a speed standpoint, they definitely you want to make sure you're staying fresh so you can play as fast as you can. The same thing what we'll see with our D line when you have that sort of depth and you can play comfortably, right? By bringing in different packages, getting the guys the breathers they need so they can continue to play as close to 100% as possible throughout the game. Then man, I'll tell you, you got something really, really dangerous there. It's going to be fun to see how Womack manages that, those different packages. And again, as we roll through fall ball, one of the things is it's going to be fun to see kind of what this defense brings and how quickly they're continuing to learn the installs, right? Because there's a lot of installs still going on, and you got to get ourselves ready for 30 days away, right? You have 18, technically 18 practices left before your first game. So there's a lot of learning going on. They're going to push these guys mentally. They're going to push them from a standpoint physically until we get closer to the game time, where we'll calm stuff down and get them just their bodies physically ready to go. So, and it does sound like the morning practices was an interesting thing, just from day one, right? And we can switch over to offense. So Kalen DeBoer had mentioned that the morning practice guys having to learn a little bit how to manage their bodies a little better. Like, okay, you start at 9 a.m. So you need to be up, you need to fuel up quickly, right? Because you're going to go out into the sun. And if you don't hydrate enough the night before and you don't hydrate enough in the morning, especially with what you're taking in, then you're going to struggle a little bit. And they saw that first day, sound like even some today that you get some little, because now you're working. That's why I like morning practice, man. I like working like that in the heat like that. I do, because you're coming right into the point. Like it's a little cool at 9, right? But then you start to roll into some heat. Yeah, it's not late afternoon heat, but you're working in the heat. That sun's beating down on you. You're getting that sweat in early, right? But yeah, you gotta learn to manage that time a little better from a standpoint, so you're not cramping up, right? But I like it. I think the guys are going to adjust really well. And I thought it was interesting to hear Kalen DeBoer talk about this. He talked about the standpoint of making sure these guys do not fatigue to a certain, they've almost broken it down to a science, right? Where these guys going into the first game, that first week, that they're coming back up out of a maybe a plateau, right? Because the body, you're going to put in this work, you're putting this work through fall camp, these number of practices roughly 2 weeks before fall. So you have, you maybe have 10 more days of like some intense work, maybe 12. And then you'll taper off of that, right? And now, because you want your body to, because it's going to be here, you're going to plateau a little going in the fall, and then you're going to want it to start going back up as far as gaining momentum again. So you're hitting a peak as far as conditioning and physical output, right? And so I thought that was, man, I'll tell you what, I thought that was really interesting the way they're looking at it, not just from that standpoint, but also bringing in the morning practice. So what do you think on that?
Yeah, you would be able to speak to the differences of practice times more than I actually just learned that. I didn't know the intricacies of being able to take that time to do all those things. That's really fascinating, which is part of the reason why I love talking to you, right? Because you're able to learn all these things that I didn't previously know. If we're talking offense, Five Adams earlier, he said that the wide receiver was something he's looking at, and I completely agree. I see Chris.
Yep.
Chris, with all due respect, when you're saying that they're too young, I don't think you really know the Bama wide receiver room because they're really not that young. You have young guys. You have Rico Scott, you have Amari Jefferson, you have Caleb Odom, you have Ryan Williams. But the guys that I think most people are looking at to be right there is a Kobe Prentice, who is not a freshman, is a Kendrick Law, who is not a freshman, who is a Jeremy Bernard, who is not a freshman. All of these guys have played quite a few snaps of college football now. They're not young guys on the block. In fact, the only wide receiver, the two wide receivers Alabama lost was Bond, and the big loss is the guy who went to the NFL, Jermaine Burton, because he actually led the team in yards, right? He had more yards than did Bond, right? He did a bit more of he did more for the offense in certain situations than Bond did. Not
way more
make
dynamic.
no mistake. Make no mistake. I'm not saying that to take away from Bond. I think Bond is going to have an incredible year with Texas, but that was the truth of the matter, right? Like he did a bit more in Reese's offense than did Bond. And maybe that is a detriment to Reese.
Yeah.
Right. We'll find out this year because now Bond has a wizard as a play caller. And we might find out that, oh, geez, Reese completely misused Isaiah Bond.
Yeah.
And he should have been. So I give you that to not take away from Bond because I do think he is an incredible player. I think he is an incredible wide receiver. I think Texas got a guy. I think they also have a guy with Silas Bolden as well. Keep up with that name. And then they have a true freshman who is really, really good. But these Bama wide receivers aren't young, right? No. That's not true. And yeah, I don't think the wide receivers are going to be an issue in the slightest. I'm not worried about the wide receiver position. I think Jeremy Bernard is a great addition. You know, he was a guy that had he not had the three NFL players in front of him, he would have been pushing for 1,000-yard wide receiver at Washington. He absolutely has that ability. The big loss, in my opinion, to Alabama's wide receiver room wasn't a guy who left. You know what the big loss to Alabama's wide receiver room was? Jalen Hale.
Yeah.
Jalen Hale's injury. And Brandon, you're 100% right. You still have Emmanuel Henderson, who's not the new guy. But Jalen Hale, if he was healthy, oh boy, would I be real bullish on this wide receiver room. And I still am. But it's not a young wide receiver room. There are young guys that might contribute, but your lead three guys are not young.
No. And I think that's one of the things too is you have a coach, right, in Shepard who's going to bring out the best in these guys. They're going to utilize every little aspect of their game and maximize it to a level within the offense that allows them to show their true versatility and why they were recruited for the position they were recruited for. So I do think, and that kind of leads to the question, right, of this right here. And Coach, I thank you for this question. Any worries of Kitty's offense and Merrill being able to execute?
Great question.
Heck of an athlete, but not the passer Penix was. This is a great question. Addressed this a little bit in the video I did, but Ty, go ahead, kick it off. What do you think?
So listen, no, I think that there are going to be a lot of people in the comments who are like, oh, why would there? This is a really good question. This is a really, really good question because I said something to start this stream off that kind of alluded to this. That DeBoer's offense can be kind of tricky.
Yeah.
It can be tricky. Now, here would be my hope, Coach I, is that he is able to simplify it as they continue to go. Right? Like, I think that whenever you have an offensive guru like this, like a Steve Sarkisian, he's able to key in on what a guy does very well and then open up the playbook from there as the year goes on. So while Penix was an incredible passer, I also, and in no way, Coach I, am I saying that Milroe is the passer as Penix when I say this, but you'll get what I mean when I say this. I don't know where Milroe is as a passer because last year was his first year starting. He had an offensive coordinator before Tommy Rees that just refused to work with him, said, go be a wide receiver. That's not conducive to success. Like, how are you going to have a guy who's like, even if he is bought in, you're not bought into him. You know what I mean? So, and then Rees, who I think actually did a good job, as good as he could have done. I'm not saying Rees was a great offensive coordinator. I don't think he was. But I do think that like we did see growth within Jalen Milroe, and Reese is so young that like, hey, thank you for what you did. Hope you find success in the NFL. Hope you have a great career up there. Hope you have a bright future. But now you have several guys
Mhm.
who are far better offensive minds, who are far better quarterback coaches than what Alabama has had since AJ Milwee and Steve Sarkisian were on campus. So this is a great question. My answer to the question would be I hope Kalen DeBoer, as an offensive guru, is able to roll out the offense as if you unroll a carpet instead of just like throwing the carpet and now there's a mile long walkway. Does that make sense? Does that
Mhm.
analogy
Oh,
play? You
yeah.
get what I mean? Like
100%.
as you roll out the
100%.
carpet, you have
You're
more and
walking
more
with it?
surface there.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yes.
that's what I
100%.
hope. And luckily, I do agree, Brandon. I do agree. Um, I completely agree with you. That's why I say when I say Reese did good, I don't mean in the sense of like he was a great offensive coordinator. What I mean is he was able to, well, Jalen Milroe's that guy, but he was able to help Jalen Milroe along the way. But there is absolutely no, there's absolutely no comparison to what he did this year and last year. Almost only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades. Chris, y'all lost to New Mexico State.
Well, and here's the
Um,
thing,
yeah,
like with
great question.
it is a great question. And yes, okay, he's not the passer, 100% mechanics different. Obviously, he brings a little bit of different talent. Granted, I do look back on Penix back early at Indiana and what they were able to get out of Penix when he was more of a runner, right? He's always had a pretty good arm. Um, his accuracy definitely improved under DeBoer and within this system uh, at Indiana, right? And we saw that until he got injured, right? He was definitely being talked about, especially in year two. I think that with Milroe, I think they're going to utilize and really work on his continuing to build his confidence, but also trusting in his abilities in creating a scheme that sits on the foundations of what this offense does, right? This this pro spread offense, right? Um, and with that scheme, it's going to allow Milroe to not be such under so much pressure that he's the one who has to make every single play, right? That he gets back and the ball, he has to pick the ball up off the ground. He has to make a couple of moves, get outside the pocket, and then throw, somebody open, right? Like, or try to. I don't think you're gonna have to run into that as much. I really, really don't. I think you're gonna be okay, you know. And that's the thing is I think we've heard it. We heard he's doing a great job. There's a lot of confidence from Coach KD. There's a lot of confidence from gosh, from who's our OC again? Nick Sheridan. A lot of confidence from Nick Sheridan. And what's also interesting, man, is KD brings up Brian Ellis a lot. In the interview that he just did, he brought up Brian Ellis. He talked about his knowledge working with quarterbacks. There's a plethora of coaches over there that can give all the right knowledge that all complement each other that are going to deliver a great result in Jalen Milroe, in our offensive line, in our wide receivers, in our running backs, in our tight ends. There's some tight ends out there, I'm telling you, they looked good. So we definitely have some more to cover tomorrow as we get into it. But I think we're kind of going to wrap up for the evening just because I got to jump on another show in 30 minutes. We wanted to do a quick just summary. It's been a minute since me and Ty have been on together, and we just wanted to jump in and say what's up to everybody. We're excited for the season. We're excited for everybody to join us as we go through the season with you guys. K Spray, you guys just, for those jumping in, just catching us as we about to move on. What's going on? But I tell you, we appreciate every single one of you guys. We appreciate the continued support. Make sure you hit your bell notification, set your phone to notifications, right? So you guys, can have and see when we come on live, right? No matter where we're at, because we are going to start doing a lot more of this. The season is getting closer. You'll see us tomorrow, I believe. We're talking about maybe a morning. I know for sure an evening with Coach Sean, Ty, I know we were talking about morning, so we're going to see about
9
that.
a.m. Central Standard Time.
Yep.
At 10 a.m. where I'm at for Eastern
Mm-hmm.
Standard Time. Chris had
Yeah.
one last little quip. He said the first time your awesome new coach went up against a really good defense, mind you, like the number one defense in the nation. So, the best defense, they shut him down. 300 plus yards on that number one defense. And the first time your offensive coach went up against a New Mexico State, you lost. So we can go all night long, my friend.
Oh yeah, I love it, man. I love it. I saw a question in here too. See, I don't even acknowledge Chris. Just comes in to just play games.
I love Chris.
Hey, you do your thing, man. Do your thing, Chris. It's all good. Buck, what's up, dog? But I did see the question. Hey, whose show you jumping on? I'm actually gonna jump on at Way Offsides tonight and just make a quick appearance and say what's up, and shout out to everybody. And I enjoy those guys. Honestly, man, all the content creators out there, we could list so many of them. Fanatic Sports, Coach I, love coming on with you. Coach Sean, JMHO, Sports Talk, Coach Jay, right? Jance, Jance Sports, obviously Ty around the table, Coach Smook, right? We got Jason Hall of Fame, PG. We got so many guys, and continuing to build that network of people and build relationships with and can enjoy the game with. That's what it's all about in the end. All right. I mean, that's what it's all about for me. And that's what I enjoy, is I enjoy talking football. We have a lot of football to talk. We got a lot of scheme stuff to talk. There's a lot of fun things we're going to do this season. And we just really appreciate all of you guys for continuing to tune in with us. Ty, again, you guys know kind of where to catch us, but I'm going to let Ty do his thing of closing. You've seen me and Ty together so much that you probably know where we're both at, and you can find us, but come subscribe to both our channels.
Yeah, Coach I, if you want in on the morning, by all means, open invitation, right? No doubt about it.
That'd be awesome.
Would love to have you in. Would love to have you in that live stream. You do great stuff. I love what y'all do over there. Like Jake said, guys, there's no shortage of great content creators. And I think one of the things that we can do as content creators is, even though I do more, general college football stuff, but genuinely it's just been a few teams because I've been so busy over the past 4 months, right? A lot has been happening in the background. So I haven't been able to spread as far as spread on my team coverage as far as I once was. One thing we can do as content creators is help build each other up.
Yep.
Right. And I think that's something I'm very big on. That's part of the reason why I always try and get people on my show. Because of all of you, I have been able to generate a big following, right? I just passed 22,000 subscribers. And if I, with that, can help other great content creators start to grow as well, then I think that's awesome, right? I absolutely think that's awesome. Yeah, Steven, can see you in chat.
Yeah, what's going on, brother?
But you guys can catch me at Around the Table Sports. We'll be doing a live show 9 a.m. Central Standard Time tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern. I'm bad at math, so don't make me do Pacific Standard Time, right?
Yeah, but don't worry, 7 a.m. 7 a.m. guys, because
you got it covered.
My time.
See you then.
Yeah, dude, I love it, man. Ty, thanks for jumping on with me tonight. We just wanted to bring you guys something quick. I know typically we go a little longer, but everybody, we're getting ourselves all prepped and ready, right? Put it that way. We're in our own little fall ball. We're doing our own camp over here, right? So getting ourselves ready. And it's good to see you, Steve. It's good to see everybody who jumped in here. Sorry if you guys got here late. We apologize. Like I said, just a short one tonight. But biggest thing is we appreciate you guys. If you didn't get to catch it all, come back and check it out. We hit some cool, fun topics just talking about this opening of fall ball, and the season has started, everybody. So in the meantime, make sure you subscribe, you like, you share. Come check out the new offensive line video we dropped with Coach Sean, Coach Carl, and we will see you all tomorrow. Maybe I'll see you over at Way Offsides tonight. Come check them out too. It'll be a good time. All right. And that's going to be 8 p.m. 8 p.m. Yes, 8 p.m. Central Time. So you can check that out. But hey, appreciate you all. Thank you very much. Ty, you are the man. I hope you enjoy the rest of your vacation. I'll see you in the morning, my brother. And with that being said, we will enter into the spin. We'll see how long it goes. But with that spin being, roll tide, everybody. Roll tide.